What are the goals and the expectations for the 25-26 St. Louis Blues?
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you about all things St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, we are going to talk about something that is very important for you and I to talk about. And that is the goal of the season. What do you need to see from the Blues in order to say, hey, this was a successful season? Maybe we don't want to get a little bit too crazy and say it's to win the Stanley Cup, or maybe we do. I don't know. So we're going to talk it out. We also have our season predictions. Yes, we're going to take a look around the Central, around the West, and even looking at our friends over in the East. Not our friends, but I was being polite. And we're going to give our bold season predictions. And then finally, I am so impressed from this weekend. The Blues had their rookie showcase playing the prospects of Minnesota and Chicago. And wow, you saw such talent on that ice from young guys such as a Justin Carboneau, even an Otto Stenberg. So many talented players that impressed me. I already knew Dvorsky was going to light it up. I knew that. But just seeing Justin Carboneau, seeing Adam Juracek, I just got so excited with some of these guys. And I know I did an entire episode on it this weekend, but I want to talk about it a little bit more just because I was that impressed. So we have a lot to get to today. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I've missed you guys. And I know we've talked all summer, but I'm saying like I missed you guys because wow, we get to actually talk about current things with the Blues and not just dwelling on last season. So hi, I've missed you all. It's good to be back talking about current stuff. So the goal of the season. This is a really good question that I actually thought of. I was doing some stuff today and it kind of just hit me. What is the goal of the season? And literally, I think, in my opinion, to get past the first round and I would be satisfied. And I think that's realistic. Now, I don't want to be somebody that comes on this podcast and says to you, if the Blues don't win the Stanley Cup, but ultimately the goal is to win the Stanley Cup again. But the problem is the Blues might need a little bit more help defensively in order to be a cup contending team. If you look at the goalies, yes, the Blues have Jordan Binnington. Obviously, he won a Stanley Cup his rookie season. Very talented. We feel good about him. Hofer, I feel confident with his ability to back up Binnington. But when it comes to the defense, do the Blues have enough defensive talent? And the answer is no. Offense, absolutely. You got Robert Thomas, who won a cup, Braden Shen, who won the cup. Jordan Kyrou wasn't on the team yet, but what I will say though, he is beyond talented. So you have those guys. You have Dylan Holloway, like Bushi. You have so much talent, neighbors, and you have to look at those players and feel at least secure that if the Blues did have a shot, those are the guys that you would want. And I know I've been dwelling on the defense, obviously, but I like players like Philip Broberg, Cam Fowler. I am a huge Cam Fowler fan. But then I get a little bit concerned. I like Tyler Tucker, okay? And I'm not coming at Tux by any means. But when you think Stanley Cup team, does he fit in? Right? I think he could on the third pair, but you need more talent. Like Colton Parayko, good player, right? Now, Justin Folk. I did not think he was going to honestly be here by the start of the season. To be transparent with you and honest with you, I really thought he was going to be moved, and I was actually very surprised that he wasn't. Maybe they tried, I don't know. But what I do know is this, is that the Blues have a huge, huge, huge prospect pool of a lot of talent. And maybe it's going to take time. I want Logan Mailloux to pan out. I do. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. What I'm saying is not in a future season, not in a couple seasons from now, but in the foreseeable future, within the next couple weeks during training camp, will Logan impress me enough for me to say he should make the opening night roster? I don't know. And I think when you go into a season, especially for some of these teams that are going to be cup contending teams off the bat, like the Panthers, obviously, the Golden Knights, the Stars, Edmonton, even. You have these teams, the Canes. I don't want to forget some of the people in the East. Um, but you know what they're going to give you, right? You know that they're extremely talented and that they can go the limits. With the Blues, there's just such a big question mark with the defense, and only the defense for me. That's what holds me back. I like Adam Juracek a lot. Do I think he's going to make the team? I don't know. But let's just say he does. He doesn't have that sustainability in the NHL, right? So you need to have a player that has a couple of years with NHL experience to be added into the Blues defensive core. And quite honestly, you don't really have that. You have a lot of young guys, and you have some guys like a Tux who does what he needs to do on the third pair. But again, you can't count on Cam Fowler for years to come because Fowler is up there in age. And it's not a disrespect, it's just a reality. The Blues team that won the cup, that was a really special team, but we had a lot of moving parts, and that team was never going to stay together, right? I want the Blues to be a dynasty. And I'm not talking like winning the cup every single season and having that unrealistic expectation. But what I mean is to have a team that's a cup contending team every single season. You can make the argument that the Vegas Golden Knights have been a cup contending team really since season 1 of their existence. They did go to the finals that season. So like there are certain teams that when you think of, you think in most recent years a cup contending team. Dallas, for years we've now felt like that about the Stars. Um, Edmonton, you felt that way about Edmonton because of guys like a Connor McDavid. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they're really interesting too because I feel as if people would say that they're a cup contending team, but just because of all the, the negativity from the Maple Leafs fans, I feel like that doesn't ever kind of come up in conversation. But a good example would be in years past, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Whenever you thought of a cup contending team from out east, you would think of the Penguins just because of how dominant they were. And I want people, I'm not talking about us Blues fans, I'm talking about everybody else, to look at the Blues in years to come and say, wow, that's what a cup contending team is. I want people to look back and reflect on the past and say, hey, remember that era where the Blues were just this dominant force? I want that again. And I think it might happen. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen now. I don't know if it's going to happen 5 years from now. I don't know the timeline of it. But I think that there's just too much talent to where it really could happen sooner rather than later. I mean, I love, 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 love more than anything to be able to say, you know what? With Robert Thomas, with Bennington, Pareko, you have 3 players that will be playing for Team Canada most likely in the Olympics. I want to say, hey, because of those guys, I feel really good. And I think the Blues could be a cup contending team. I could say that. I'm not going to say that because I'm also not delusional. I know the weaknesses of this team, but this is a playoff contending team 100%. And don't get it twisted. You have people who are going to be really quick to shut you down if you do say that. If you say, hey, the Blues are a playoff contending team, you're going to have people that are going to shut you down, right? Oh, they're not good enough. Oh, they choked against the Jets. Oh, okay. Okay. Take what they say with a grain of salt. You know why? The Blues are a playoff contending team because they were a playoff team. So, boom. All right, we're going to talk about some season predictions, a little bit of fun stuff going on here today. But I want to talk to you about my friends over at Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed, it's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and it helps you reach the right candidates faster. Personally, for me, I love using Indeed because I know I can always find the most dependable and reliable candidates because of how Indeed searches works. It really filters out all the fluff so you only see the good. So now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed, it's all you need. All right. So this is going to be the season predictions. And I know what you're thinking. Hale, were you ever right? I actually was right for about 3 years. So I actually did a hockey podcast of all the NHL teams before I began doing Locked On Blues. It was my little podcast when I was in college. I sat on my floor and I did it. And let me tell you, oh my goodness, let me tell you, I would get it right all the time. Yeah, I was looking back, I did get the cup winners right for about 3 seasons in a row, so I'm just saying that was, my biggest flex. But anyways, enough bragging, let's talk about the NHL and, what I think is gonna end up happening because I really do think that I am gonna be somewhat right on this. Let's go honestly division by division, and then we will go, cup finals and then who will win the cup. So let's start with our friends out east. We have the Atlantic Division. I personally think, and this is going to be a tough one, I think coming on top in the Atlantic will be, this is going to sound crazy. I think it's going to be the Ottawa Senators. I think Ottawa. I think the Sens have a lot of talent. I think that the Panthers had to get rid of some talented players. I think that the Leafs just have a whole bunch of problems. The Lightning didn't really impress, especially in the playoffs. So I think Ottawa honestly might finish first. All right, in the Metropolitan, the division that I love to hate because it's boring. If you want a division that has like the least amount of competitiveness in it, it is definitely the Metropolitan. It's really boring. Like, for instance, the Capitals last year, they finished with 111 points, and then behind them were the Canes with 99. So, as I stated, it is boring. Don't like it. Anyways, coming on top in the Metropolitan is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. I think the Canes are just too talented of a team not to be on top. But I think it's going to be close with Washington. New Jersey, again, they just injury prone team. Only 3 teams, by the way, from the Metropolitan made it to the playoffs last year, and it was the Caps, the Canes, and the Devils, which is so crazy. I mean, the Blue Jackets, they were close, right? Didn't happen, but you had the Blue Jackets, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Penguins, and the Flyers all eliminated, which is insane to think about just because like there was no sense of competitiveness. But moving on to the West, the best, in my opinion, division, the most competitive division, in my opinion, but I'm just saying, coming on top. Now, this is going to be a tough one because you had 3 teams with over 100 points. You had the President Trophy winning team, Winnipeg Jets, with 116 points. You had the Dallas Stars with 106 points. And then you had the Colorado Avalanche with 102 points. So, in order to be on top in this division, it's going to be honestly one of those 3 teams. I personally think it's going to be Dallas on top. And that pains me to say because I do not like the Stars. However, with the Central being so competitive, I'm not going to be naive and say, "Oh, it's going to be the Blues or the Wild," because again, it's just it's hard to even say that, but that's my prediction. I also want to say I was right about the Predators not being good last year because I thought when they gave Steven Stamkos all that money, it was going to blow up in their face, and it did. All right, now we have the Pacific. Again, another division that, in my opinion, is boring. Only 3 teams advance to the playoffs. Anywho, again, you had the 3 teams finish with over 100 points. The VGK 110, LA Kings 105, and the Oilers 101. Coming on top in the Pacific, the Vegas Golden Knights. It sucks, but they're just too good of a team, especially regular season. So I do see the Knights staying on top, but I think the Calgary Flames actually might sneak into the playoffs. I mean, they were on the Blues' tail at the end of last season. I think they're just a super talented team, a lot of younger guys on that team. But I mean, LA, that's an interesting team because they're so quiet, right? But they end up being so sneaky. It's a interesting concept. And the Oilers, I mean, as long as Connor McDavid's on that team, in all honesty, they're gonna always be a contending team. Now it is the time for my too early to predict Stanley Cup matchup. This would be the finals. I'm not gonna do all the rounds. This will be the finals. I think it is going to be, should I do like a drum roll? I think it's gonna be the Carolina Hurricanes, Dallas Stars, and I think the winner will be Dallas. I think Dallas is gonna end up winning. And the Canes, it's unfortunate, but it's so hard with these teams in the East against these teams in the West, with the exception of the Panthers. The West is just so much better than the East, and I know that sounds a little bit backwards considering that a team from the East won the Cup, but the truth is there is just so much talent, and you would be naive not to see it like that. You know what I mean? Like the Panthers, yes, great team, back to back champs. You got Matty Kachuk, love that. But at the same time, I just think that there's more talent in the West as a whole. Okay, so as a whole, conference by conference, more in the West. But I want to know what you think. I think that this is a really fun exercise because it does make you think about, well, who are the best teams in the NHL? I'm a big Jake Ottinger fan, individually, not with the Stars, obviously. And I think he is such a good goalie. And again, like goalies, that's what drives your team to ultimately win. It's funny when the Blues always get talked about by the national media. Binnington is a name that most likely will come out. I mean, it comes out all the time from the national reporters because people associate teams with their goalies. And I know I do that when I think about different teams, like I think about their goalies. For instance, and out of respect, I do have to say, Marc-Andre Fleury signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Because obviously he's gonna end up retiring a Penguin, but it feels like an end of an era, right? And I always grew up when I was watching hockey. I always knew Marc-Andre Fleury, Penguins. Like that's how I knew the Penguins. I guess Sidney Crosby too, but the point is Penguins. And I guess for me, it is interesting when you think about goalies, but I could get into a whole conversation about goalies and ranking the best goalies, and we can get into that, just not tonight, because I need to talk to you about something that I was super impressed with from over the weekend. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Personally, I love using FanDuel because it allows me to make some same game parlays that, well, always hit. I always do Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown and then Eagles money line. But I also have to tell you, Saquon over on rushing yards and Eagles money line combination, that gets you some money too. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com to place your first $5 bet. Over the weekend was the Blues' rookie showcase, and I was really excited about what I saw from some of the guys. I told you in the very beginning of today's episode, I was impressed by Justin Carbonneau. I mean, this kid, wow, talent. It's talent. It's natural talent that is the future of this team. Like, it's so hard to put into words how fulfilling it is to see a guy that got drafted a little bit later in the first round end up being as dominant as he was during the showcase. So for me at least, it felt really good about that. But he did a great job, right? We also saw a couple other guys play really well. Otto Stenberg. Oh my goodness. He had this amazing feed in game one. Game two, he scores about a minute and 18 seconds in. And he is a stud. He is fast. He is crafty. He is dominant. Such good stick handling skills. And he's able to read the ice and find those open gaps. And again, a player that I personally really like. But Justin Carbon, no. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. I mean, this is a player, I'm telling you, that deserves to play in at least a couple regular season games before because with rookies you can play I think up to 9 games. And then you have Dvorsky. Do I even need to go on about Dvorsky? I think we all know how I feel about Dvorsky. The thing is with the Blues, right? I know the amount of talent that they have, and it's scary. It's actually scary because I was watching that rookie showcase and I thought to myself at one point, these guys are going to be fighting for a spot on the final roster, and it's not going to be fair who doesn't make it. Let me explain. There's so much talent, right, with their rookies. And if it was a team like Chicago or San Jose where they have kind of a struggling roster as it is, you would put most of those guys probably on the team, to be honest with you. But because the Blues do have a lot of talent already, I feel as if it's going to be impossible to put all of those said players on the team. So evidently, you're not going to be able to. Being said, you're going to have some players in Springfield that maybe did deserve a spot to be on the Blues. And it's so funny because Dvorsky, I mean, he said, "Oh yeah, I feel real motivated." Like he feels really good and he has that drive and it's not going to be an easy training camp. It's not. This honestly, and with all due respect to camps in the past, this is going to be a whole different ball game. This training camp is going to be a dogfight. You're gonna see probably the most competitive training camp that we've seen in years. And I'm not saying that lightly. I've been around the game for quite a while now, and I've seen a lot. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be heartbreaking for some of the guys that don't make it. But again, at the end of the day, when you have so much talent, you're not going to be able to have a finer roster that has a lot of just young guys, if that makes sense. So we'll see. Theo, Otto, Dvorsky, Juracek, Carbonell, the list goes on and on. But this is a really, really good rookie class. I'm impressed. All right, so it's going to be a busy week ahead. Listen, now that we're back in hockey season, thank God, by the way, I want you to be more active in the comments, okay? I want you to respond to the questions because we're going to have so much to talk about here on Locked On Blues. Like last season, yeah, we had a great time last season. I have a whole microphone set up now, okay? Like we're going all in. And I want you to know that your voice and what you think matters as well. And I want us to be able to have conversation. At the end of the day, this podcast, yes, it's me talking, but it's also because of you listening and watching. So we have a lot of fun here in Locked On Blues, exclusive content. I'm credentialed with the Blues again, even though I will be mostly online. And I do a bunch of other now work surrounding the Blues with some of my other jobs. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up, as cheesy as that sounds. And like always, we do this thing at the end of each show. It's now been our tradition where we say, let's go Blues. And I always count you in. So 1, 2, 3, let's go Blues.